Hello, hello, hello. Akua here. I also respond to Aqua and Ikria, and I'm really excited about today's live stream. So this week I am celebrating releasing 50 episodes on my podcast, the Open Door Conversations podcast. And I'm really excited about it because I never thought I would be here. I never thought I'd have a podcast. I never thought I'd be doing live streams. I never thought I'd be doing any of these things a few years ago. So I just wanted to take a moment to reflect, to share some of my lessons learned, and to also thank a lot of the people who have been part of this process. A lot of people have been encouraging me, have been involved in supporting me so that I can get here. So that's really what I wanted to jump on and just do today. This is not going to be a very long live stream, but if you do have any questions for me, any thoughts for me, any feedback, any constructive criticism, you are also welcome to leave me a comment, send me a DM. I'm always looking to learn and to improve, and I'm really looking forward to putting together my next 50 podcast episodes. Before we actually jump into the 3 things that I've learned, I just want to remind you, if you are watching this, that you should take a listen to my most recent podcast episode where I actually do talk a little bit more about what I'm going to be sharing today. I dive a little bit deeper into the 3 lessons that I've learned. And I also talk about the 3 top episodes that have come out since I started releasing podcast episodes about a year ago. So my podcast is also going to be celebrating 1 year very soon. So just in 2 weeks, we're going to be celebrating 1 year of releasing podcast episodes. So yeah, if you want to listen to the top 3 episodes, it's very interesting because they're all different types of episodes. If you've had a chance to listen to me for a while, you know that I release 3 types of episodes. So the first is what I describe as like the hashtag Ask Akua episodes. Having trouble speaking today. The second type of episode that I release are just solo episodes where I just dive a little bit deeper into topics. And then the third type of episode are those are interview episodes. So if you want to listen to the top 3 episodes of the Open Door Conversations podcast, make sure that you listen to this week's podcast episode because I will not be talking about them on this live stream. What I did want to talk about on this live stream, though, were the top 3 things that I've learned starting my podcast. As I've mentioned earlier, if you've had a chance to look at any of my content related to my podcast, you know that this is not something that I thought I'd ever be doing. And you know, one of the reasons why I'm here is simply just because there were some people that were part of a group I was in that said that, hey, you speak really well. You're a really good public speaker. You should consider having a podcast. I thought they were crazy. I thought having a podcast would take too much work, but it isn't too much work because I have amazing support. I have an amazing podcast manager. Her name is Valerie, and she's the reason why every single week a podcast goes out. Every single week, we have amazing copy. And then, of course, I also have a VA, so Dorcas, who supports me in putting together both the blog sort of post and also a newsletter that goes along with it. So it wouldn't be possible without having that support. And I think that sometimes when people look at individuals who have podcasts or who create some level of thought leadership or put themselves out there, they think they're doing it all by themselves. Usually they're not. And if they are doing it by themselves, they probably should get help because it will free them up to really focus on the things that they enjoy and free them up to do the work that probably pays them. And so in my case, having a podcast manager, having a VA support me allows me to focus on the things that I enjoy doing. And that is really the coaching, the facilitating, and the speaking. So just by putting together one podcast a week, I'm able to create a lot of different types of content, right? I have my blog, my blog post, I have my newsletter, and then I have social media posts that come off of it as well. So let me just dive into the 3 things that I've learned since launching my podcast about a year ago. And I also will share just some thoughts, I think, in relation to that. Once again, if you want to dive a little bit deeper, hear more of my thoughts, as well as the top 3 episodes, make sure that you take a listen to this week's podcast episode because I talk about those. But the first thing I put on here was the fact that I was scared I wouldn't be able to repeat myself. I saw a really interesting tweet a few days ago, actually, maybe about a week ago, about how a good entrepreneur is able to talk about the problem they solve and their solution all the time, every time. And they're excited each and every time they do it. And I was just so quick to retweet that because I was like, that's exactly what I was trying to express on my podcast episode as I reflected on the last 50 episodes, because I thought that even just doing things online and doing live streams, that I'd get really bored because I would have to repeat the same message over and over and over again. And I think that if you are a good entrepreneur, if you are, really able to connect with people and serve people, you also have to be really good at repeating your message, and probably also shifting that message and, making sure that message makes sense for whatever audience you're in. But it really does come with a lot of repetition. And surprisingly, I've been able to repeat myself, and I've really been doing that for the last 4 years. I've only had a podcast for about a year, but in terms of my message, what I share, what I speak about, what I get paid to talk about, it's really been the same over the last 4 years, and I've really enjoyed it, and I continue to enjoy it. I don't feel like a broken record at all. So that's something that I've learned about myself. It's a lesson. It's something I didn't think I'd be able to do, but it's something I'm actually able to do. And I think those of you who are interested in becoming service providers or even entrepreneurs in general, I think being able to find something that gets you excited, and that you're able to talk about over and over again will only work to your benefit. So that's really the first one here. The second one I have on here was really just recognizing that you don't have control over how others react and respond to you. This is something I even teach as a coach, but specifically because I decided that I wanted to leverage social media for my business. And not all coaches leverage social media to the same degree that I do, but I decided I wanted to do that. And so just getting really comfortable with recognizing that there are going to be people who are not going to be interested in what you have to say. There are going to be people who are not going to like what you have to say, or like how you say it, or even like the way you look. And that's okay. But I definitely think that that is something that I've really had to get over, I think, in so many ways. And because the work I do is also so relationship based, right? Also just recognizing that all of us have bias, right? Biases. Once again, this is something that, I also have to remind myself of, and I also teach. All of us have biases. And so what people tell you is not always necessarily the real reason. And they also might not be aware of the real reason why they listen to you or don't listen to you, or interested in working with you, will invest in you, or won't. And so that's probably the second lesson. And I also, once again, talk a little bit more about that in my podcast episode, just really recognizing that you don't know who's listening, and, you're not going to resonate with everyone, and that's okay. And I always try and remind myself of that every single time I put together a blog post, or put myself out there on a live stream, or put together a podcast episode. All right. So the last thing I put on here in terms of my top 3 lessons that I've learned is sort of speaking off the cuff. If you had a chance to catch this live stream earlier on, you probably noticed that there were times where I was, my words weren't necessarily coming out. I maybe had the wrong verb tense. I'm not perfect, right? I am definitely not a perfect speaker, but this is something I still get paid to do. So really just recognizing that you don't have to be perfect at it. No one's perfect at it. I've really practiced a lot to get to where I am, and I still make a lot of mistakes, right? So once again, if you caught this live stream earlier on, I wasn't the best. Probably could have been a little bit better. And sometimes, those things happen. It's happened when I've done things in person publicly. It's also happened when I've done things also on live stream here. As you can see, I'm still falling over my words as well. So those are the 3 top lessons I think that I wanted to share today. And I think the 3 top things that I've learned, and the things that I'm celebrating, I guess, also about the work that I do, and the fact that I do leverage podcasting as one of my primary ways of talking about the work I do, and also sort of marketing the impact and the transformations I can provide as well, right? So once again, the first thing I said was I thought I'd be bored repeating my message, and I'm not. And I think entrepreneurs who really love what they do and are good at what they do are not afraid to repeat themselves and say things in different ways depending on the audience. The second one I said was just recognizing that whenever you do something in public or on social media, not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to be along for the ride, and that's okay. And the third one was around speaking off the cuff and recognizing that you're not going to be perfect at it, and that's okay as well, because I'm not perfect. And if anything, this live stream has probably been one of the worst I've done in a while. And that's okay. I know there's a few of you who have joined me on here, so I just wanted to give a big shout out to Mrs. Youngblood. Thank you so much, Mrs. Youngblood. Mrs. Youngblood actually was one of my teachers back in the day, so thank you so much for joining me on Facebook. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate your support. So thank you. It's great to see you out there. I also see Christina on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me, Christina. I'm doing the same. I have a social media intern that helps me navigate it. It's amazing that you have support so that you can focus on what you do best and what you enjoy doing, and also probably what leads to generating revenue as well. So thank you so much for joining me, Christina. Bimbo, I see you there also on Instagram. Thank you so much, Bimbo, always for your support. I really do appreciate it. I always see your likes. I always see your comments. So thank you so much for your continued support, both on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I see you on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much. Once again, I just wanted to give a shout out to my amazing podcast manager, Valerie of the Podcast Planners. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Also to my VA, Dorcas, thank you so much for your continued support and for bearing with me, as I'm not always the best at giving instructions, but you always ask for clarity, and I really appreciate it. And the rest of you that take the time to listen to my content, that take the time to engage with my newsletters, my podcasts, my blog post, I really appreciate it. And if you have any thoughts on what I can do better, any thoughts on what I should cover next, please feel free to let me know. This is going to be a short live stream because I want to go off and celebrate. It is a Monday, but I'm going to go off and celebrate and have a great dinner. I hope all of you are well, that you get a chance to take a break this summer. That's actually a great segue to say I will be taking a break in August. So I probably will not be doing live streams and for at least the first 2 weeks of August, and definitely will not be putting out any new podcast episodes for the month of August. So thank you also very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the start of your week. Stay safe and stay sane. Bye.